In this video, you'll use a template that I have put together that will allow you to save a point into a database and then retrieve that point back from the database. And I've provided several different methods in which you could do this. For the assignment, like I said, you're basically going to really copy my code and just change a couple of variables here and there and make it your own. But what this essentially does, I'll close my HTML here and my JavaScript, is it lets you type in a category, a title, and then a piece of text that you want to show up in a pop-up. These are referred to as field 1, field 2, and field 3. Okay, so just be aware of that. You have the option to go and change what this text means if you want, or what type of information is being put in, but the values are, it's referred to as field 1, field 2, field 3. And what field 1 provides us is the category that might be used as the icon. Field 2 is the title, so it's what I have in bold here, some fun title, and then my text shows up here. Now I have this put in here using 4 different methods. I have it loading as a variable and displaying with icons, loading with the leaflet Ajax plugin, or loading with the plugin and icons. And so here's using the plugin and icons. Just the plugin gives me blue circles. Variables and icons, I also have it using the variable, but it also converts to an icon, and then loading as a variable. The loading as variable with icons does not change the icons, it's just they're static, they're one type of icon, whereas the one that's the most complex is this loaded with a plugin and icon. It does change the icon based upon what's been typed in. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to type one of these in here and I'll show you what the code does. So the category, I'm making a green one. And we'll call this class title, some description. If you go and you click on the map, wherever you click, it's now going to put a point with this information. Ideally, you'd have something in between this that would keep it so that you don't always add points to the map, because if you just keep clicking on the map, you're going to keep adding a whole bunch of points. So try to only put a few in. Like I said, a person should have some more code in here that would only let you put one point out until you check something else, and then you can put another point in. But for this assignment, that becomes more complex than what you need. So I'm going to click one up here. Alright, it adds a point. When it adds the point, it looks like this. It's not changing the icon in this particular page. But if I reload this page, before I reload the page, let me show you what the code is here. Here's the Ajax. And so it put up into the database this code, and you can look here in this back piece here. Here's my information, the class, the title, the field 3, and then my some description, and then geometry. So this is all GeoJSON that was just created, and it was put into my database. If I look here, I'll reload this. Here's my last item that I put into the database, and you can see that the information I entered on the web page was put into here. All right, so if I run this page again, it reloads it, it went back, and when next time it reloaded, it did the right icon and everything else that it was supposed to do for me. So here's how you go about using this. First, in the HTML, look through. I do have a fair number of things I'm loading in, because I have to load in the library for the awesome markers and all that. But the key item here is that it's loading, this part right here is loading in the data. Now my data, we went back to here, you see I have a user ID of CJ Sigger. You'll have your own user ID getting added. If you want to retrieve your data, then you're going to need to pull in stuff that has, here it says user ID, CJ Sigger. You'd have to put your name in instead of mine. Now the function is telling it how you want the data to come back to you. Do you want it to come back as data that is prefixed with var locations, or do you want one that comes back and the function here, I'm going to change it, instead of saying response var, I'm going to tell it that the function just response, and now here's just regular JSON without that on top of it. Okay, so in this one inside of the HTML you have to use this response var. Now the JavaScript. JavaScript, I just on the top of mine put my user ID, just set to your user ID right away, and then the JavaScript part's taken care of. And this first variable makes a response URL for me, and this one is set to response. This is what makes your regular GeoJSON file, as opposed to one that comes in as locations. So now we've pulled this data in twice, once in the head, and then we made a URL right here that we'll be able to pull in our functions. Add OpenStreetMap and create the map. Add code, so when you click on the map it adds a marker, and that calls a function. And that function is right here. So the function runs, it goes and gets the field information that you've typed into the category and title, and it makes a marker, binds a pop-up to it right away. And again, you can reformat that however you wish in yours. I also find out what the latitude and longitude are of the point that was clicked. And then I create a set called myData. So a variable myData is the information we need to send to the server. We need the field 1, we need the field 2, the field 3, the latitude, and the longitude. You will not need to change this at all because it's already hard-coded into the system. This is followed by our AJAX request, which posts our data to the server. That's what that does. Then down here I have a series now of 4 different ways of pulling the data back out and drawing on the map. This first one pulls it from the variable called locations. It has just a basic yellow circle and a pop-up that has only information from field 1 displayed. Again, you can modify the pop-up. Second version is version 2. This one uses the AJAX plugin. So just a little bit different syntax, so you can compare syntax. It'll draw these in blue, and remember you can turn these on and off over here. So this one is loaded with the plugin. This is drawing this one. If you want icons, I define my icons. Okay, so right now if I want my icons to work, I do have to type in my type, a color like the color red or green, and I'll show you why that works in a moment. Right, so that defines those. Right, so this one is my GeoJSON layer 1B. Again, it's also using locations. They're all set to the Gulf icon by default, and anything it pulls in will have that Gulf icon. So that's that one. Or my most advanced one, and the one I like the best, is pulling it in directly from the URL that ends in response with the word just response, not response var. And on this one, I find out what is in field 1. So for my icon, I get the properties of field 1. I run to my get icon function, which is here, and it says, okay, well, what's in that function? So it's going to look at whatever you typed in here and then compare it. And if it equals the word soccer, then use the soccer icon. If it was golf, golf icon. If it's the word red, use the red icon. And if it's something else, then just automatically use the green icon. And again, you can modify that in yours if you want. So when you do yours, you don't have to use any of these other options up here. You can delete GeoJSON layer 1, 1B, and 2, and just use the example I did for GeoJSON layer 2B if you want. And then it would just pull in the 1. You don't have to have the multiple things being pulled in. I just want to give you options as you do this. And of course I have my layer control at the bottom. So go ahead, play with this, send me questions if you have it, and don't get too stressed about it other than just knowing to see how this works.